Alrighty, good morning, everyone. Welcome back to another beautiful day at TCC. Hopefully everyone is in the appropriate place, Math 161. And we're gonna get into things really quickly. Don't worry, we will not be discussing any material at all today. Today's course is going to be 100% about, well, how this course is going to be run, since we're in kind of an interesting scenario. I usually take about 30, 45 minutes to talk about the syllabus, but we'll be talking about a few other things as well. Now, the first thing I want to point out before the couple details on the screen is that I do ask that everyone stays muted in class. It can be very, very difficult to maintain the speed of the lecture that I have to and take like 30 or 40 questions over a mic without interrupting things. So what I plan on doing is I'm going to try and pre-record a lot of material in advance, like I will have done today, as you'll see. And if you have any questions, then you can just go to the chat. You can type them there. I'll be on my second device and I can answer questions in that chat. And during those videos, I'll occasionally pop in and mic up and say something different. Or if someone has a question that I feel I need to answer out loud, I would do the same. But if you go to the more button, I think that's how it's set up for students as well. You can find the chat window and then you can talk over there. When I do have a second device set up, if you need to private message me, you'll see that one of the names will say PM here, because if you PM to the one that's on the laptop running everything, I won't necessarily see that blinking at me, whereas I would see the one blinking on my second device. So you have to make sure to message the appropriate one if you see two of my name in that chat list. So again, just the only conduct I really ask for class is, again, let's keep our mics on mute, because I know, and this is also part of the reason that I use pre-recorded material, because I know while we're doing this work from home, teach from home, learn from home side of things, some of us have lots of people living with us, or other kids doing their own learning, or people walking in and out, or animals being loud, or chaos happening, or bathrooms being reconstructed at the same time, whatever the case might be. It's an interesting world we're living in, but we make the best of those situations. So hopefully that's cool. The second most important thing I want to mention is that we will be using mymathlab.com for this course. You are required to purchase the access kit either through the Barnes & Noble TCC bookstore or through the mymathlab.com website. I believe it's a little cheaper through mymathlab.com, but I cannot 100% confirm that you're allowed to use financial aid if you buy it on the website. I'll see some students say yes. I'll see some students say yes, but then they realize, oh no, wait, I bought it through the Barnes & Noble store. So me, it's not my field of expertise. I don't want to say. I would suggest that you talk to your financial aid counselor, advisor, whatever, and get the word straight from the horse's mouth, so to speak. So this is the course ID, which was emailed to you. It's also in the email set up in Canvas. By the way, if you want to access this Canvas course, I'm pretty sure you have to go through my TCC to get to it. I've heard some students say they can't access it just on canvas.com or whatever. So please go through my TCC. And then in that site, you'll see all the some review materials. You'll see a link to the live lectures. You'll also see links to every every post-recorded video that I link on YouTube. So every day, after a few hours, I will set these recordings up on YouTube, and then you'll see pretty much exactly what you already saw. Or if you missed class for whatever reason, then you can catch the replay there. And on the YouTubes, that's great because they've got a slow down button. So if I start talking too fast and you can't understand me, then you can hit that slow down button and I'll talk at a much more reasonable pace. You can also rewind and rewind and rewind over and over and over. There is no excuse not to get the course materials here. But that MyMathLab course ID, which will take you 5 minutes to create your account and to set it up, I need you enrolled no later than 5 p.m. tomorrow or you will be deleted. I am 100% serious about this. If you can't take 5 minutes to enroll in our course where your homeworks and tests will be, I can't trust you to do anything at all for the rest of the semester. It's 5 minutes. So by 5 p.m. tomorrow, I will start filling out my delete forms. It means you were never here. You didn't participate. It's a lack of participation. That's all it is. Some important dates, which the first one will not affect this class, but if you have any Monday, Wednesday classes or just Monday classes, it will. No class Martin Luther King Day, the 18th. And then there will also be no class during spring break. That's Sunday through Sunday. So I believe our classes that are canceled are on the 9th and 11th of March. That sounds right. Your last day for a tuition refund is January 27th, and your last day to withdraw without penalty is March 26th. So if you try to withdraw after that, they're going to give you an F automatically. And I can't control that unless you have some crazy extenuating circumstance, like you're moving to Canada or you're 9 months pregnant and you have documentation, and there'll be paperwork we have to file, all that good stuff. So it's just a lot easier if you withdraw before then. And that's about 60% of the way through the course. We feel that it's reasonable. Most people know halfway through whether they think they can handle this or not, whether something's changed for you dynamically, or maybe you're just not ready for pre-calc. Because quite honestly, there's probably a significant number of you who aren't necessarily ready for pre-calc at the moment, because we're experimenting with this self-placement process at TCC, where you just say, hey, this is the math I think I'm ready for, and then you're signed up. That's most of our students, not all of them. I think VA is done differently, but don't quote me on that. So if you have never heard of factoring before, you're going to have a hard time in here. If you can't remember your exponent rules and your rationals and all this other stuff, then you're going to have a more difficult time, because we're not here to teach you the prereq material. However, as you'll see in this video, I do have some stuff set up in the Canvas course to give you a push in the right direction with specific prereq material for this course, but I don't go all the way back to like sign numbers and fractions and decimals. That's stuff that, again, you should already know. But I'm going to talk a little bit about that, a little bit more about that later. Let's go ahead and get into the video. And there's one or two times in the video where I was using an old course as the construct, so to say. So like you'll see this, you might see a course ID up there that's wrong, and I'll just kind of remic and say, hey, ignore that. There's one or two points where I know I say something again that would be relative to the old course when I pre-recorded this. So I'm just going to mute myself and come up and be like, hey, no, it's still this idea. Ignore those dates that say 2020. It's all 2021 stuff. All right. So again, if you have any questions, I'll be in the chat on my second device. Happy to answer them as fast as you can sling them.
Stuff, and we're not going to read every single detail of this.
This is your syllabus.
Required course texts. You do not have to own the physical textbook. This is the digital age, and almost all of our textbooks in this department are digitally available. I know not all departments can say that. And it gives us a little bit of a price break when you're buying new. If you're buying used, maybe not so much, unfortunately, but at least it does cut down the new prices significantly. Also, if you don't like carrying a heavy textbook around, it also helps there. So again, while you do not have to own the physical textbook, you do have to purchase the Mymathlab Access Kit. And I edited this and it didn't save. That says WebAssign. That should really say Mymathlab. So please make sure you're not buying a WebAssign kit. If you're going to Barnes & Noble or looking it up online, it won't say WebAssign. It should say Mymathlab. So sorry about that small little typo. It might have that typo somewhere else. A graphing calculator. So again, do you have to own a physical graphing calculator given the nature of this course? Arguable, because you can download a TI-83 app on the internet for free. If you just Google free TI-83 app, I bet you come across it very, very quickly. It's the one that you'll be seeing me use throughout this semester, in fact. Come on. Why is it not minimizing? Technology is always fun. Here it is, virtual TI-83. And there's my TI-83. I have a physical one as well, but obviously for y'all, you'll be seeing my digital one throughout the semester. Now, I am not going to allow you to use this the entire semester, and we'll get into the exact details of when it's allowed as the semester progresses. I'll go ahead and mention that historically what I've done is the first 2 tests worth of material, I say no calculator, but then for test 3, test 4, and the final exam for the second half of the semester's material, I allow it. And here's my reasoning. The first 2 chapters worth of material are a lot more simpler in their algebraic nature than the later chapters. and we should be able to handle basic arithmetic of sign numbers, fractions, decimals at this level. If you're in pre-calculus, you're supposed to know how to do 1/4 plus 1/2 at the drop of a dime. You're supposed to know how to do 2.5 times 3.6 at the drop of a dime. You should be able to handle your simple algebraic equations and even your medium level algebraic equations, because we're kind of climbing the ladder in that regard. So what I find is that a lot of people for test 1 and test 2 just want to use their calculator to do 3 plus -4, and I can't have that. That is a skill that is absolutely required of you at this level, because even later when I am allowing you a calculator, you need to be able to crunch those processes very quickly, because let's say you've got a problem where you have to factor. You might have to go through 4 or 5 of these just to go through the options of which one you're going to actually use. And the calculator is not going to help you make that decision. You need to be efficient and proficient at these types of calculations. And again, all of the things that I've said will come up. There's a lot of mathematical material that you should have covered in previous arithmetic and algebra courses that is necessary prereq knowledge for this course that we won't necessarily cover. Some things I'll cover very lightly. Some things I've given you some prereq material in Canvas as well as an assignment in Mymathlab, which I'll show you where all those things are, to kind of help you. But again, we have 15 weeks to go over 4.5 chapters, 5 chapters worth of pre-calculus. If I have to take 2 weeks to go over review material, that's 2 weeks of pre-calculus I can't cover, and it's already stretching this course very thin. So it's not out of the meanness of my heart that I'm not going to cover review material. It's that we don't have time. So I give you some opportunities to cover those things on your own. And like I said, I will go through things very, very, very quickly as it might be appropriate. And again, maybe like an hour's worth of stuff this first week. But we have to get into actual course material rather quickly. Pencils. Please don't do math and pen unless you're going to get a 100 on every test. Pen and math just don't go together. And I say that as a complete hypocrite because I do math and pen all the time. But I am a math teacher, so there's a little bit of weight to that, I'd hope. Paper, take notes, please. Just because this is available digitally, that doesn't mean you shouldn't take notes. And how you take notes is up to you. If you're used to taking notes on a little tablet or your own computer and typing them or writing them, if you have some great app that helps you take notes, use it. If you're old school like me and go pencil paper, just do it. But don't stare blankly and just watch the videos, because there are 3 main different ways of learning. Some of us learn by reading, some of us learn by writing, and some of us learn by listening. And I can't tell the 24 of you which way you learn. This is something that you have to discover on your own over time if you haven't already. Me personally, I learn by writing and by reading. I don't learn by listening. If you tell me something, it goes in one ear and out the other. And that's not me being rude. It's just the way my brain operates. I have to write things down. I have to take notes. If I listen to someone say something, 2 days later, I've forgotten it. If I write it down, 2 days later, I remember it. If I read it, I might remember it 2 days later. I might not. 50-50, flip of a coin. Writing is the main way that I learn, but secondary is reading. So if you know, or you think you might learn by writing, you better be writing these things down. If you learn by listening and by reading, and you can make 100s on your tests legitimately and complete all your homework, then that's fine for you. But I think that there are a lot of people that don't write their notes just out of pure laziness, not because they know that's how they learn. And again, no judgment or anything. I'm not going to call out anyone because I don't know you yet. Maybe 1 or 2 of you already, but I might not know your learning style. Graph paper, this is if you want to use it. We will be doing some extensive graphing throughout the semester. Not necessarily the first couple weeks, we'll do very light graphing, but we get into some heavy-handed graphing as the semester goes on. Ruler's helpful, but your tests are mostly going to be completed electronically using Mymathlab, in fact. So they've got some great ways for you to be able to plot things without having a ruler and graphing paper. But at the same time, it is probably best for you to learn how to do these by hand as well. And when you see me doing the lectures, I will be teaching you how to do them by hand, because that's the way we should be doing things. The graphing components in Mymathlab are great, but sometimes they make it a little too easy. And if you're going on to calculus, and you might get a teacher that doesn't want it to be too easy, they say, hey, I'm going to make you do everything by hand even on the tests, then it will be great that you had a teacher that taught you those things up front. So what exactly are we going to cover in terms of material? We're going to do some review things. So like I said, there's a lot of stuff that would be review that we won't cover, but there's also some things that you'll see that would be review. For instance, we'll cover how to find the slope of a line and its intercepts and the 2 or 3 different forms of lines. That's something you should have covered in algebra class, but we will still cover it quickly in this course as part of the material. You may have dealt with complex numbers depending on where you had your developmental math or your algebra. So that's something that, again, we'll cover very lightly. You definitely better have solved equations. If you've never solved an equation before, you should probably remove yourself from this course right now, because that would terrify me, as well as inequalities, things like x plus 5 equals 7, or 2x minus 3 equals 5x plus 7 parentheses 2x minus 9, something like that. Quadratic equations, things like x squared plus 6x plus 7, you should have seen in the past, but we will see again, and we will quickly review them. Factoring, something that, again, I'll cover very, very, very briefly, but you should have definitely seen that before. Again, more of this course's material, the algebra of functions, function notation, what it is, how we can use it, what its strengths are, what its weaknesses might be. It doesn't really have a lot of weaknesses except for one, and that's the notation itself, just the complexity of learning it initially. Inverse functions, this is kind of like the Jeopardy of math, where instead of having the question and finding the answer, we have the answer and we want to know what the question is. Quadratics we kind of mentioned, but also their graphs. Now you may have done some light graphing before, but we're going to get heavier handed in this. Polynomials and their graphs. This is a really fun topic. Rational functions and their graphs. It doesn't say in their graphs, but we're going to be graphing them as well. We graph all this stuff. Exponentials, logs, and their graphs. Systems of equations if we have time. And their graphs, of course. This is a rough... Why does that look weird? Oh, I know why, because I hit forward too many times. Okay. There we go. That's weird. I know why. This page was blank. Sorry if I was just confusing you. And the syllabus builder screwed up this table, so this does not look very good at all. But we have 16 weeks, and this just lays out the sections that we'll be covering over those 16 weeks. So all of Chapter 1, 1.1 through 1.8, all of Chapter 2, some of Chapter 3, I think there's one section in Chapter 3 we skip, all of Chapter 4, and then some of Chapter 5. If we have time, we'll get into 1 or 2 sections of Chapter 6. But I really don't expect that, especially given the nature of this synchronous course. So again, I apologize for this table being terrible. Again, just use it more as a reference for what sections we're covering over time. We have our COVID-19 statements. So make sure that you comply with every COVID-19 issue, as well as your professor will do so. For instance, we would normally take attendance at every class in TCC in person. I don't necessarily take attendance for who shows up to these online lectures because you might not have access to the internet that day. Your internet may be down at your house, or maybe you don't have internet and you're going somewhere else. Maybe you're sitting outside of the Portsmouth campus in the parking lot right now next to a building to watch this video. Maybe these times have caused your schedule to shift at some point in the semester, and you were able to watch this class at first, and then all of a sudden you're not able to. So the good thing is I will, as already stated a couple of times, I will be recording these lectures as long as Zoom behaves. And I laugh there because I have had 2 instances since March where Zoom did not record my class. That was fun. And hopefully that's not going to be an issue. That's me knocking on wood. You got to take things lightheartedly in this world. If you take everything too serious, all you're going to do is have anxiety, panic attacks, stress, and ulcers. So I try and avoid that as much as possible. If you went to the Canvas course to find that link for this to get to the live lecture, that is exactly where the recorded lectures will go as well. So let's show you that. If it's still open. All right, so here's the inside of our Canvas course. And sometimes these things rearrange on their own. I've seen the Tidewater important information fall 2020, this thing just be taken to the top all of a sudden, just randomly. It's not me, it's Canvas just deciding that one thing is more important than another. But don't worry, everything will still be there. And you might not have, you may have just seen some things that you won't have. So let's put it in student view, in fact, so I won't give away all my secrets. It's just some reviews and materials for later, notes, and this might have been a bad idea. The first day wonders, it's always awesome. Okay, well anyways, before I did something silly, here we go. Just taking a minute. So lecture videos, at the top will always be the live lecture link. That will always be at the top. And as we go through lectures, so at the end of our class, later today, I do have a class immediately after this one, so I won't have time to upload it until sometime between 2 and 5 o'clock each day. But after I upload it to YouTube, wait for everything to convert, then I'll go into this and I will post a link below. So you'll have, what's the date, the 24th? So it would say 8/24 lecture course discussion, or if we were, let's say we were covering 1.3, 8/26 lecture 1.3, blah, 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 blah. And that link will be available all semester. You can watch it 50, 60 times. The good thing about YouTube is they have a little setting where you can actually slow down things. So there are some people that think I talk or go too fast. And that might be the case, but I have to cram a ton of material in an hour and 15 minutes, so I don't really see any other way to go slower. Maybe a little bit less rants every now and then. I don't do too much ranting, but everyone can rant. Like right now, technically a rant. So anyways, if you find that I'm talking too fast, put it on 75% speed or put it on 50% speed, and maybe it'll be a little more your pace. With the replays, if you miss something, you can rewind without actually having to literally hit a rewind button. So those are great. I want to see those YouTube counts climbing. I'm not making any money off of it. I just want to see it climb. I want to know that my students are watching it. Now, if every day, I've got 23 of my 24 students right now, so if that happens every day, then maybe my YouTube counts don't climb. But if I start seeing, like last semester, less people participating live, then I want to see that YouTube count climb. So again, I'm not going to take attendance just based on who shows up. You probably can't see this right now, but I hit a participation window and I can scroll through all the names, and everybody actually named themselves perfectly, so that's great. Last semester I saw some weird names. Not weird as in like offensive or anything, just it looked odd, like cell phone numbers and things like that. All right, the next bit that you'll see below the live lectures. Also, again, attendance, what I can use for attendance is, are you completing your homework? If I see your name live or if I see you catching up on the homework, then that's fine. And we'll talk about attendance soon. Below the live lecture link, as well as the recorded lectures, as they are added, you'll have your Prereq Material section. This is what I was talking about, how we just don't have time to go over most of the things that you should have already learned and retained. But I know that waiting 4 weeks between math classes, or 4 months between math classes, or 4 years between math classes, whether it was just waiting between semesters, you taking a semester off, or you're coming back and doing this stuff 4, 5, 10 years later, we forget things. It's very easy. There is literally a mathematical formula for forgetting things. It's called the memory equation or the forget equation, depending on how you want to have a perception, glass half full or glass half empty. So I have a couple of links to websites, these blue ones. These are hyperlinks. I'm I'm going to regret clicking that and not opening it in a new window. It's the first day, so all our systems are probably just bogged down like crazy. They're used to things being nice and smooth during the summer. There, it opened in a new window. Let me go ahead and go back. Oh, that's just to, okay, well, this was another one of the things. Factoring formulas. And then a couple examples, or one or two examples. How to factor trinomials. These are more methods than formulas. And then I give an example. The other method for trinomials, if you have a leading coefficient that's not 1, here's your method, and then an example. A different method for that, factoring, factor by grouping, kind of goes in line with that. There's also the trial and error method, which I don't really list out because it's literally just trying all the different options and seeing if you can find the one that works. Here's that website link that finally loaded. Factor by grouping. This kind of looks like something that was just on that page of notes, but they actually give you examples. You can practice. This is a little more, this is a little beefier, if you will. So again, some external help. Exponent rules, very important. So here's all the different rules and an example for each rule. Radicals, how do you handle radicals? So here's a document that I typed up with some of these rules, which are the same as the exponential rules, believe it or not. How do we handle things with a radical in the denominator? What do you do? How do you handle things with a more complicated set of radicals or radical and another number in the bottom? This is what you do. How do you add and subtract radicals? This is what you do. Come on. Rationals, these are big, ugly fractions that terrify a lot of people. But we'll be using them extensively throughout the semester. Important note, can't ever let a denominator be 0. That issue is going to come out several times throughout the semester. How do you simplify one? Factor and reduce. How do you multiply or divide? Basically the same thing. How do you add or subtract? How do you solve equations involving them? And you might say, well, there's no examples of this, and this seems like it might be a little harder. Well, in addition to these little notes that I gave you inside of Canvas, inside of Mymathlab, so when you log in, this is our course, Math 161, Fall.
Now, again, that's not actually our course. Ours is 8 a.m. spring 2021 with the course ID Beckner 8259.
Someone asked a question. My screen wasn't showing anything, so I had to sign out then. Oh, okay, cool. Well, thank you for taking care of that. Hopefully you can see everything now. All right, so the main places you'll spend your time in Mymathlab are homework and maybe occasionally quizzes and tests. Now, if you see any quizzes in there, admittedly, I have not built those. They are not part of your grade, but the tests that will be given throughout the semester will go in there. So if you just look in this tab, they might have a few like readiness checks and just all these things that I did not build at all. Mymathlab did that. So you're more than welcome to try them out, but these are not graded. They are not graded. They are not graded. And homework is mainly where we'll spend our time. So this section right here, Prereq Material, is, guess what? The material that you should already have a grasp on, and if you don't, then you need to focus on it on your own time. There's a solid amount of questions in this. This is not how many questions are typically in a homework assignment. Homework assignments are typically much less numerous in question, like 12 in the first assignment. We got 15 in the second assignment. You get the idea. So this prereq section is not graded. I will not have it help or hurt your grade for your homework. Again, this is all on stuff that you're supposed to already know. How to evaluate. Another evaluation. How do you handle intersections and unions? These two problems. And I know that some of you may have never seen these intersections and unions before. This is something that some algebra teachers tend to miss. So I will cover this when it is necessary to cover. So even though it's in that section, I will cover that one a little more extensively. Simplifying, handling exponents. You can see that these build up in more complexity over time typically. Switching to radicals, adding radicals, I had some notes on that. Handling radicals and denominators, I had some notes on that. If my notes aren't good enough, you've got this question help button. View an example or help me solve this. Go to a video that might be relevant. Help me solve this will actually take you step by step through this problem. After you finish it though, they will change the numbers of the original problem. Help me solve this is great because it makes you actually participate. View an example is solid as well, and this one will not change the original numbers, but it doesn't ask for your participation. It just asks you to read along. Maybe you're taking notes along with it. Some students like to do view an example, then help me solve this, then the actual problem. I think that's a pretty good set of logic because you can read it out, then try it out and get immediate, yeah, you did it right, or no, you did it wrong, and then you can go for the gusto, go for the gold, whatever the phrase is, and do it yourself. And I'm not going to go through all of these problems. You get the idea. I at least just want to get to a rational. Maybe it's a little later. Let's go to like 33. Nope. Nope. Lots of factoring because you're going to be factoring all semester. Make sure you have got that factoring down pat. Even if you think you're a master of this stuff, go in and try some of these problems because maybe you need to de-rust a little bit. I'm great at math, and I don't mean to toot my own horn. It's a reason I'm a math teacher. But if I don't do something for a year and I come back to it, I might have to de-rust a little bit. It might take me a second or two to know every little complex in and out of everything. Question 47, you start getting into those rational expressions. So if my little notes weren't enough, here you go. Here's some actual examples, and you can do the view an example. Hey, do this, do that, do this, do that. I will give you a 5-point bonus on the final, I did not mean to say that word. I will give you a 5-point bonus on test 1 to any student who completes this assignment. So I'm going to go to another little Word file for a second that we're going to get to. So I will give a 5-point bonus to test 1 to any student who completes Prereq Mymathlab assignment. So I said earlier, very specifically, it wouldn't help or hurt your grade, your homework grade, I said. I said homework grade because if you complete that prereq assignment, I'll give you a 5-point bonus. And I'm going to say that completing it is going to be an 85. So, a regular B, if this was a plus-minus system, which we're not on, we don't have B minuses or B pluses, just Bs, just As, just Cs, just Ds, and just Fs. But I figure a regular B is good enough to call it complete. I really would like that to be a 90. I mean, if you're at an 85, just go ahead and get yourself the 90. It's only like 2 more questions. Why not, tell yourself, hey, I earned an A on this. I did great. So I think this is an amazing opportunity that everyone should take, whether you feel comfortable with it or not. Now, if you're an ace and you feel you don't need those 5 points and you don't need to complete the prereqs, then that's on you. But if I see you earning Ds and Fs on the test and you didn't complete the prereq, I'm going to start making my own assessments of things. All right. Homework due dates, actually, while I'm on that, because I don't have this in the syllabus. Homework is due 1 week after the section is completed in class, unless otherwise mentioned. So I don't have to say a homework is due on this date. I don't have to because I just gave you this absolute blanket statement, unless I make an exception. Write this down. Hey, Mr. Beckner, when's the homework for 3.2 due? Well, what day did we finish the section in class? Add 7 days to that. That's when it's due. I would really suggest complete before the next class, though. If we were doing in-person classes with Pre-Calc 1, that's how I would do it. I would say, you've got to have your homework done by the next class day. Why do I suggest that you complete it before next class and yet only require you to complete it a week later? Well, again, we have this COVID-19 thing going on, so you might not have a situation where you had time to get to a place with internet to get your homework done. But be responsible, take your own destiny into your control, whatever you want to say. Because here's the thing. If I cover 3.2 on Monday and we finish it, 3.3 probably uses some of the stuff that we were doing in 3.2. And if you haven't practiced it yet, you might not understand some of the things I'm talking about in 3.3, and that puts you further behind. And that's an effect that compounds throughout the semester. So by the time, if you're behind in 1.3, you're further behind when we're in 1.8, and you're further behind when we're in 2.6, and then you're 2 chapters behind when we're in chapter 4 in terms of understanding of the material. So I will not allow homework to be worked on past that 1-week deadline or whatever deadline I assign if there is an exception to that. For instance, at the end of the semester, the chapter 4 homeworks, that last 1 or 2 I might have to say is due next class because the next class is the last class, something like that. Or maybe we miss a day or I'm sick or something, and then that might change. So again, while I do typically say that a homework is due a week later each time in class, if I don't say it, you are supposed to understand that homework is due when? 1 week later. And I always say that the section's finished. Your homework grades. Mymathlab isn't perfect. Sometimes you might put that the answer is 2.1 and it's supposed to be 2.05 and it marks you wrong. Now, if this was some big word problem with an application and 10 steps, if you answered 2.1 and the answer was 2.05, it sounds like all you did was put in the wrong number of decimal places. You rounded. That kind of sucks that you get 0 credit for that, right? And I agree. Guess what? I went through this in college. Actually, not with any math classes. It was my physics class. We used WebAssign, and I won't say my opinion out loud on a recorded video of that at the time, but you can probably imagine what it was. And with physics, it was brutal because of things that we don't need to talk about. So, maybe that situation happens to you with the same problem 5-6 times, and you get frustrated and you just go, I'm not doing this problem. I understand that this is silly. If that happens once or twice, that's not a big deal. Or maybe it's just there's a problem that's so complex and maybe shouldn't even be in the homework set that no one's getting it. So I don't want to dock everyone for that. So my curve, if you will, or my extra credit, if you will, is any homework that is a 90% or higher will be changed to a 100% in my gradebook. That will not be reflected in Mymathlab. I cannot possibly do that for every single student, for every single assignment. That's all I would do all semester. I wouldn't have a life. So what I do is I take all of your grades and I put them in an Excel file. I write a quick little if-then statement, and it says if you have a 90, it turns into a 100. So if you have a 95, you get a 100. If you got a 96, you got a 100. If you got a 99, it's really a 100 in my gradebook. If it's a 91, it's a 100 in my gradebook. Anything lower, I add 10% to. Someone has a question. Let's see. Is the homework graded by what we score on it or what we do? The homework is graded based on how accurately you answered. It's based on what you do. It's based on how you score. So if you get half the questions right and half of them wrong, then basically you'd probably have a 50. And I say basically because some questions have multiple parts and are worth more points because of that. So yes, you do actually have to accurately submit problems to get the grade. It's not just pure effort. But the effort side of things is again, me adding this 10%. So if MyMathLab says you have an 85, in my book you've got a 95. And again, I'm not going to change that in MyMathLab. Your MyMathLab grade, don't ever trust it. Don't ever trust your MyMathLab grade. What I would suggest that you do is make an Excel spreadsheet or something like that, and type in your grades with what the reflected grade I would give you. So if it says 85, have an Excel spreadsheet with 95. Then your next one, if it's a 79, write 89. The next one's a 92, write 100. And then just average them, add them up, and divide by the number of grades you have. The reason you can't trust your MyMathLab grade is any assignment that you don't do and is past due will count as a 0 in my grade book, and MyMathLab doesn't. If you don't ever open anything, it doesn't give you the 0, and that's not right. It's very wrong. So I'll have cases where a student, oh, I've got a 97. Actually, no, you've got a 10 because you only did one assignment all semester and you got a 97 on that. All the other zeros mean you have a 10. So don't trust your MyMathLab grade. You are pre-calculus students. You should be capable of adding up a bunch of numbers and dividing by however many there are, or doing that in Excel. If you don't know how to do it in Excel, learn, or anything. I mean, it doesn't have to be Excel. I just say Excel because that's what I use. You can write a C++ program if you want to. I don't care. All right, back to the syllabus. Sorry for the bouncing around of this. It makes sense. So attendance, actually we're not ready for that yet. Grade policy, it's a standard 10-point scale. So an A is a 90 to 100, which is technically 11 points. B is 80 to 89, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The final exam date, wow, the syllabus builder is really goofing me up here. That should not say May 6, 2018, obviously. That is completely wrong. Our final exam date is something like December 12th or 13th, somewhere in that ballpark. You'll know. Sorry, distractions. So how is your grade going to be calculated? You're going to have 4 in-class tests. I do reserve the right to make this 3. The last time I had to teach this class online, I was only able to get 3 tests. However, that was a 12-week course and not a 16-week course, and that was in the middle of this COVID-19 thing starting, so there were a lot of initial issues. I'm still going to try and have us do 4 tests, so 1 test per chapter basically. And that if we do 4 tests, that means that they are 15% each. If I only end up giving you 3 tests, if I find that we're just too short on time for that 4th test to dynamically work, then if you only have 3 tests, they'll be worth 20% each. So it's not like it's going to make that a big difference in margin. Your MyMathLab homework, and so you can tell that I went and changed things because if I didn't, that would say WebAssign. That's going to be 20% of your grade. And the final exam is going to be 20%. It says in-class paper and pencil. The in-class aspect is obviously not going to happen. The paper and pencil side of things is still going to happen with all your tests, and I'll explain that in a little bit. Actually, let me go ahead and explain it. So how do you do a paper pencil test in MyMathLab? Well, here's how. Let's pretend this is your test. So it's test 1 time, you go in and you take your test. Section 1.4, this is our test. You'll have a time limit of 2 hours, probably. And it'll be in the ballpark of 20 questions. And you go through, the imaginary unit is defined as this, where I squared is this, right? And you won't have the final check button when you're taking a test. You just have to go through the questions. And at the very end, when you submit, it'll give you your grade. So you can't show your work in MyMathLab, obviously. Someone's asking a question. You have a chance to make corrections, or we just get the grade we get? How do you sign up for MyMathLab? I will go over the instructions to sign up for MyMathLab soon. And will there be a chance to make corrections, or do we just get the grade? So it's a perfect question. So let's do that. Let's go back to this one. Imaginary unit is defined as this. Now, normally you get 3 attempts, but on something with a drop-down menu, it's just going to give you 1 attempt. And it says, oh, you did it wrong. You got to try again button. And this one doesn't change any numbers. The imaginary unit I is the square root of -1. I squared, well, let's say it's 0. So this is me burning through my 3 checks. It feels a regular question, and it tells me I'm wrong. Try again. So right now I've got a red X for the question, but if I actually answer it right, that it's the square root of -1 and then -1, final check. Good job. We move on to the next question, and you can see that I have permanently earned a green check for that question, and my grade is permanently reflected. So you have as many attempts on a homework problem as necessary. The Mymathlab code can be purchased directly from the bookstore, or you can buy it online. So let's do this. Let me pull up another web browser since that's what everyone is interested in right now. Or maybe it was just the same person asking a question again. Microsoft Edge. This is literally the first time I've used it. No, I don't want that to be my default browser. So you'll go to mymathlab.com. You'll register now as a student. Don't care. You'll click OK, register now. You will enter that course ID, which was Beckner.
And again, this course ID was Beckner. Actually, I don't have it on the top of my head because I had to close my chat window, but you saw it twice earlier, the Beckner and then 8 something. If someone else could post it in chat really quickly, that'd be awesome, but you get it.
If you already have a MyMathLab account, you can then sign in with your username and password, and that will link your account. If you do not, you will have to create one. So at this page, you'll enter, I'm going to say please use your TCC email address, but at the same time, if you're not checking that email address regularly, which you are supposed to be checking it every single day as a TCC student, Monday through Friday, if you just know you're always going to check your Gmail address instead, then use your Gmail. Please make sure that it's correct. It's going to be something like J Davis 00012 maybe at email.vccs.edu. This is what your student accounts look like. Please get it right, because if you don't, you might get locked out of your account. Correct. All of our work will be done through MyMathLab. Canvas will be used very, very briefly for one detail on the test that we'll circle back to after this. You can make up your own username, or you can have it be your email. Make sure you enter a password, re-enter it. Please write down the username and password that you have. I cannot get you that, and you don't want to have to deal with their tech support. Again, please triple check to make sure that your email address is correct at email.vccs.edu if you're using your standard TCC account. Security question, agree to the terms of use. Click this if it applies, click this if it applies. I think someone has their mic on. Please mute so we don't have to hear whatever's dinging. Sounds like chips eating, I don't know. So unfortunately, I can't go back to this page. I can't go past this page, or I'll create a duplicate account with someone else's name. So here's what the next page looks like. I'm just going to draw it up, and you'll get to see how I actually do math with our course. I've got a little drawing tablet, which is really fun. That's not working. Am I right? Purchase that access kit. It'll say use your code. So if you've already purchased that access kit, you'll click that and enter the 25 or whatever characters it is. To the right of that will be a button that says buy code. So if you don't want to buy it through the bookstore, then as long as you have a credit card or a debit card or a card with funds on it, whatever, then you can buy it directly through the website. If you are using financial aid to purchase textbook materials, I know a year or two ago they recommended students to buy through Barnes & Noble directly and not to do it this way. I don't know if that's changed, so I don't want to tell you which way to do things. If you're using financial aid, again, in the past we told our students to go through Barnes & Noble. Someone mentioned that this is $75, which is a great price. I believe in the bookstore it was $93. about 93, something like that. So if you don't have your code yet, if you aren't able to buy it online, here's what you do. Down at the bottom, there'll be a little blue hyperlink that says blah, 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 14-day free trial. So most of you will probably be clicking that. So 14-day free trial, that's how you get into MyMathLab. Now, after those 14 days are up, you're going to be locked out of the course. You can still log in, but you won't be able to access anything in the course, which means you won't be able to do homework. You would not be able to take tests. So it is 100% mandatory that you purchase the MyMathLab Access Kit. Now, here's something that's cool with it. If you are going to be taking Math 162, which is Pre-Calc 2, the next course in the sequence, that access code is good for the next course as well. You won't have to buy it again. So you get a twofer. Most of you are probably going on to Applied Calculus after this, which is like Math 261, I think. So if you are going on to that, then this is only going to work for one course. The calculus is a different textbook, so it's a different code. Each of these codes are tied to a textbook. Pre-Calc 1 and 2 are in the same book. So, any questions on how to get into a MyMathLab account, how to create an account? Okay. All right, so I mentioned that 98% of everything we do is in MyMathLab in terms of course materials. What do you actually have to use Canvas for? So hopefully Canvas still has me logged in. And this is why I don't like using that annotate feature, because when I go to other pages, it all stays on the screen, and I can't just erase part of it. The beauty of Microsoft Word, when it's working appropriately, is I can erase little sections and have multiple pages at a time. Also, you can see my handwriting is kind of ugly with this, and I have bad handwriting to begin with, but Word has an algorithm that cleans it up a little. So hopefully I can figure that out before next class. All right, so let me clear. Let's go back to, I need to go off of annotate. So when you're in your Canvas course, and this is a tab that will open up later, when it gets time to test one, I'm going to say, all right, you do your test in MyMathLab, but you are still required to submit your work to Canvas. So Canvas is where you will upload all of your work. So I reserve the right. You might get a 100 on the MyMathLab test, but if you don't turn in the work, or your work is just empty and nothing, I reserve the right to deduct points, maybe 5 points, maybe 10 points, maybe 50 points, depending on how much I think is relevant, because it's really hard to do most of pre-calculus without showing your work. So no work means I'm going to start suspecting some funny business. And I don't want to have to say everyone has to have a video camera on them while they're testing. I'm hoping that we can all be honest and actually just do our work. I'll probably do that for the final, but if I don't have to for tests 1 through 4, I don't want to make y'all go through all of that process, because it makes it a bigger pain in the butt for everyone involved. So again, to alleviate that, what we'll see here is another section open up that will have submit test 1 work here. And you'll take a picture of your work, or you will scan it and just upload it there. There will be a time limit in which you have to upload your work. So if I see you finish your MyMathLab test on Monday at 3 p.m. and you submitted your work Tuesday at 5 p.m., that's going to say red flag, red flag, red flag. So you're only going to get like 10 to 15 minutes to submit your work. So make sure you are prepared to do that when you are testing. You have to be ready to immediately submit your work. And I say 15 minutes for now. If I feel like I need to play with that number, I will. I really think 15 minutes is enough time. I've heard of some teachers only giving 5 minutes. That sounds terrifying to me. 15 is about as low as I'm willing to go personally, because I want to give y'all the benefit of the doubt. I'm not the super strict, ultra mean teacher yet. I still got another 20 years before that happens, I think. Jokes, don't worry. Hopefully that never happens. All right, so testing, we understand. MyMathLab, we understand. Syllabus, back to where we were. We talked about grading. Makeup work, there is no makeup work unless you have doctor's notes. If you've got COVID-19 or the flu or something like that, and not just doctor's notes, if you've got something else going on, like a funeral, someone in your a family member passes, or you have to go to Canada because your job sends you there. There are extenuating circumstances, of course, but just traditionally, no late work, no makeup work, test days or test days, that kind of thing. So please make sure that you're submitting the MyMathLab homework on time, that you will be locked out of working on them afterwards. Final grades, please don't ever email me and ask your grade. I will not communicate that online, as it is not a secure form of communication. Final grades, just the A, B, C, D, or F will go into SIS. When you take your test, you'll see your grade posted in MyMathLab. If I have to make any adjustments, I will reflect that grade in MyMathLab. And I mentioned earlier that I might take away points for you not doing your work, but on the other side of things is maybe you do a question, maybe there's 10 steps and MyMathLab says it's wrong and it gives you no points, but you email me and say, hey, Mr. Beckner, on test 1, question 5, I got this wrong, but my work looks pretty solid. Can you look over it? And then I'll go to it and I'll look at it. I will not default to just looking at everyone's work for partial credit. If you feel you deserve partial credit on something, you need to bring that to my attention. But once you do, I will happily look at it, and quite often students earn some extra points for that. I generally can't offer a ton of points, but I'll offer what I can. Course communication. Sometimes I'll send messages through MyMathLab directly, but typically I just email everyone to their VCCS account. So please, again, make sure you're checking that every business day. As do I. I check my email every business day. I don't always check it on the weekend because I don't always have access to the internet on the weekend. Sometimes I'm in the middle of nowhere. I have T-Mobile, so the middle of nowhere can just be like 40 minutes outside of Hampton Roads. It's kind of a joke, but it's cheap. So I don't always get back over the weekends, but Monday through Friday, I'll get back to you within 24 hours. Attendance, like I said, we've kind of got a loose attendance policy here. It's traditionally supposed to be if you miss more than 4 days, I withdraw you. But if you're watching YouTube stuff, I don't know that you're watching it. And, some teachers are like, hey, well, just make them say I watched it or make a comment. Just because a student makes a comment doesn't mean they watch the whole hour and 15 minutes worth of stuff. So I don't know. I just don't know exactly how to hold an attendance policy besides saying, if you're not doing your homework and you're making bad grades on tests, then you're not attending. That's the way I see it. So catch the lectures because that's how you're going to learn how to do the homework. Do the homework and then take the tests and make good grades. A student who's doing all the homework and making A's and B's and C's, they may have missed 5 or 6 lectures, I don't know, but they're still going to stay in the class. But a student who has not opened a single MyMathLab homework assignment and earns like a 50 on the first test, they're going to get withdrawn because they're not participating in the homework. So that's what we have right here. Attendance can be counted as watching live lectures and or completion of homework assignments. We basically already said the late work makeup policy, and you'll notice some things get repeated in this. Again, that's the syllabus builder. In fact, they have 2 different sections for attendance now, and I don't understand why. Classroom behavior, I don't really have to worry about that too much. Worst case, I can mute you if I feel the need, but most people mute themselves pretty well. Electronic devices, inclement weather. Inclement weather basically turns into, does Zoom work and does my internet work? And does your internet work? That kind of thing. Which again, I don't know if any of y'all saw this morning, but Zoom was not working for about an hour. And I kind of had to laugh at that because if you don't laugh, like I said, you're just going to be an anxious mess and nobody needs that. Laughter is the best way to handle everything. The link to the YouTube lectures are in Canvas. They will be in Canvas. So that one link that's there will work all semester for the live lectures. That link will never change unless I decide to abandon Zoom, which I am strongly considering. I've already asked my department head if they'll allow me to do that and just use YouTube Live. I figure I'm uploading to YouTube. Why do I have to use two different things instead of just one? Because when is YouTube Live down? If it is, I've never heard of it being down. Anyways, if I switch things, we'll find out later. Hopefully that's not the case. But again, the live one will always be at the top, and then any recorded lectures will just be below that, and they'll have the appropriate dates and sections covered on them. So yes, they will always be in Canvas. I will not email you the links to recorded videos ever. Sign up for Tcc Alerts. If you have not, you'll get texts and emails. My favorite story that I'll tell very quickly, many years ago, I had an 8 a.m. class at another campus. It was normally like a 30-minute drive, 45 minutes if there was bad traffic on 64. Well, it snowed overnight in that morning. And when I woke up, the campus had not been closed yet. TCC had not been closed. And when I left for work, TCC had not been closed. But apparently, sometime on my hour and 30-minute long drive, TCC closed finally. And I get to campus and it's a desert town. And some words may have escaped my mouth that I won't repeat on a recorded video. And the first thing I did when I got home was I signed up for TCC Alerts, because then at least my phone would have buzzed while I was driving. I could have pulled over and read the text message real quickly and said, ooh, I get to turn around. TCC Alerts, it's awesome. Please sign up. Withdrawal policy, the 60% deadline is October 29th. If you withdraw after that, I cannot control your grade without explicit documentation, like you're moving to Canada or you're giving birth in a week or something like that. They have to be very extenuating circumstances to not get an F after that point. Please withdraw yourself if you're gonna exit this course. There are complications to the teachers having to withdraw students, especially if you're enrolled in the MDE 61 course. So again, if you just think you're not going to be able to handle this, if it's before that date, withdraw yourself to make it easier on both you, me, and the people in the offices of TCC. The deadline to drop for tuition refund is September 9th.
Again, ignore those two dates on the screen. It's January 27th and March 26th.
If you have something crazy going on, you might be able to get a W after the W date, but it's rare. You have to have the right situation. Academic integrity, your homework needs to be your own work. Your tests need to be your own work. As I said, I'm trying to avoid having to make you all record taking your tests, but if I think that things are looking fishy, I'll start doing that. Plagiarism basically falls in the same thing. Any kind of suspect work, I reserve the right to give you a 0 on. We can take it up with counseling, student services, not counseling, I said the wrong thing, student services. Educational accessibility, formerly known as disability services. So if you have any paperwork, you can email that to me and I'll sign it and accommodate you in any way, shape, or form. If it has anything to do with a test, please remind me when that test date approaches, because I don't want to not accommodate you. I will absolutely accommodate you in every single way that those forms say. I know people at other colleges, and I won't name names, but they are not, some of those teachers are not so nice with their accessibility, I guess is the word. You know, it might say, hey, this student gets double test time and the teacher doesn't do it. They choose not to. They tell them they won't do it. And that's not how I play things. I do like it tells me. So, you know, if you're supposed to record your lectures, well, you don't even have to worry about that. I'm doing it for you. How perfect is that? And all the other things that it might offer. This has to be through TCC. If you have private paperwork, I can't do anything about it. You need to go through them and have them handle it and get their specific form, which I'm sure they won't give you any trouble with. Emergency procedures, we're not going to be on campus at all, so this is mostly a non-issue. Just do whatever you have to stay safe if there's any hurricanes this season, or if we get some crazy snowstorm in like 3 weeks because it's 2020. Who knows what's going to happen next? We got 2 hurricanes coming in at once into New Orleans, right? It's been a fun year. Library and tutoring services are available this semester. I do not have the link for the tutoring services Zoom account yet. I do not have it, if I did not say that correctly. I do not have that link yet. I need to request it from Johnny Davis, who runs that. Hold on, water break. Refreshing. But once I have that link, I will email it to you. It's free tutoring. They when it was in person, did appointments and walk-ins. I don't know if they're doing appointments now. They might be, they might not be. I don't know. That's more information I need to find out. It's been a very weird start of a semester, so we're kind of lagging on some bits of information, but I think it's safe to say that's expected. The library is available if you want to go on campus and use that. Please follow all safety guidelines, of course. You have to wear a mask. You'll have to, each building only has one entrance. You have to sign in, those kind of things. Important websites. Just normal stuff. That's weird to have that there at the end of the document. Why did it put that? Optional course information. The syllabus builder confuses me. These syllabi used to be 2 pages long, and now they're 13, 14 pages long, and most of it's just bloated information, but it is what it is. So that's your syllabus. If anyone has any questions on the syllabus, speak in the next 60 seconds, or type in the next 60 seconds. Otherwise, with our remaining 10 minutes, just want to talk about a couple other things.
I have a question. It's about discussion boards. You said they're required. Do we do those over Canvas?
Thank you for bringing that up. So yes, I will have a discussion board set up in Canvas. So let's see if it'll link. And typically what I just do for this, and I say required, the term required there is in case I feel the need to later, but for now, I don't actually require it, if you understand what I'm saying there. It's more of a, hey, let's help each other out, and if no one ever does anything, then maybe I'll require it, and just say it's worth like 1 point of your homework or something. And for some reason, the Chapter 1 discussion is not up there, but yeah, just have like a, hey, any questions about Chapter 2 material, you can post in here. Another student can respond. I can come in and respond if I feel necessary. But yeah, they're in Canvas. Thank you for asking that. All right. So do not trust your MyMathLab grade.
I have a question.
A few pointers. And this first line right here is not just true for this course, this is true for any college course. And I used to ask this question, and more than half my students would raise their hand 10 years ago. And now when I ask this question, the last 2 semesters where I was in person, I literally had 0 students raise their hand for this. The question being, for each credit of a course you take during a regular 15-week semester, how many hours a week are you supposed to study? And the answer is 2 to 3. So for every 1 hour you're in a class, you're supposed to be studying 2 to 3 hours that week. Again, for a 15-week semester, for summer and 10 weeks, it's different. If you're taking a 12-week course, it's different. But that's not our issue. So this is a 3-credit course, which means we're meeting together almost 3 hours each week, which means you should be studying 6 or more hours a week for this course alone. Now, studying, doing homework, any of that stuff. Now, maybe 6 hours isn't enough for you. Maybe you need 7 or 8 or 9, because some people, they say 2 to 3 per credit. Some people are really good at a subject and will say, I only need to work 1 hour per week for each credit outside of class. And maybe you're a history buff, and that's true for your history class. But if you're not so hot at math, maybe some of that history time needs to be allotted for the math time instead. And I imagine that's the case for a decent amount of people, because math is challenging. If I asked everyone in this class how many of you actually like math and are great at math, probably less than half of you would say me. We already talked about taking good notes. Watch the lectures, rewatch the lectures, do the homework, do the homework, do the homework. It's 20% of your grade. You can't learn math without doing homework. I mean, it's critical, and I don't even give you that many problems for things. In fact, if you do a homework problem and you do all the ones like it and you still feel like it's not good enough, then you can redo problems. I don't remember exactly what it says, but there's a redo button, reattempt, something like that. You still get to keep your credit even if you do the next one wrong, so that's great. But it would give you more opportunities because Mymathlab is going to generate different numbers each time you hit redo. Classic kind of high school issue. Don't come to me the last day of class or the day after finals or ever anything like that and say, I need extra credit. I don't ever really give extra credit. The extra credit that I've described is the 10 points to homework kind of thing, some partial credit on a test here and there. Don't miss tests. If you know you won't be able to make a test date, then you can request to take it early, but I won't give them late, which, by the way, tests will have appropriate reviews given at least one class in advance. I didn't say it earlier, tests are always announced at least 1 week in advance. So it won't be like we come in Monday and I say test Wednesday and that's the first you ever heard of it. Tests are generally 1 week after finishing material. And tests 1 through 4 have 2 days to take them. So if this was a traditional class, we'd be testing in class on a Monday or a Wednesday and we wouldn't have a lecture that day. Given the format that I can't make everyone take the test all at once, I just give you 2 days to complete it in Mymathlab. And again, those days would start a week after having finished the material. If you miss those 2 days, that's it. You missed the test. Again, unless you have doctor's notes, something like that, documentation, because I have to have that for someone else. It's not me necessarily requiring it. Everyone has to have it. So you will get reviews for the tests. The tests will be announced in a timely manner. You'll have a decent amount of time to study material for the test. The only exception is that 4th test. I might have to break that generally rule, and the final exam only has 1 day to take it. Tests will generally be available at 12:01 a.m. and due at 11:59 p.m. So I might say, all right, we finished 1.8 today, so the Chapter 1 test will be in a week. That means you'd have the Monday and Tuesday to complete it. Once Wednesday rolls through, then it would be done. Or maybe I give you Tuesday and Wednesday. It's probably going to be Monday and Tuesday. We'll play that by ear as the semester progresses. But I don't want to just say test 1 is this date, test 2 is this date, test 3 is this date, test 4 is this date, because especially of the format of this class. There might be a class where I have 50% more questions than usual, so it takes me an extra half a day to finish a section. Or I might have several classes in a row where nobody asks anything, and I'm moving faster than normal through material. So I don't want to say test 1 is September 30th, and then it turns out it's October 7th for various reasons. I don't want to do that to you with changing dates. So that's why I like to kind of play it more by ear. If that makes sense. Our Zoom meetings, same time and
All right. All right. So that was pretty much everything from the video. I just wanted to hit on 1 or 2 more points that I didn't say in there. And that is that should anything come up where we have crazy inclement weather or the internet goes down at my house, if I can't be on a lecture live, as I said, I'm trying to have some pre-recorded materials ready. I won't always have them. It's going to be a mix and match. But if I do, then I would just say, all right, well, here's the YouTube link, watch it when you can. Or I would try and record something before the next class. But if I don't have anything prepared, I can't guarantee that, especially then, because I'd be forcing y'all to watch something intermittently. So just understand that if there is any kind of crazy inclement weather that causes my internet to be down at the last second, that we'll be, running on the balls of our feet, I guess. And as a reminder, that you have to absolutely enroll using this course ID from mymathlab.com by 5 p.m. tomorrow, or you'll be deleted from the course. We already talked about how we don't want to have to do that. You've got your relevant dates. I'll hang out for another 30 or 60 seconds if anyone has any last second questions, but I think that went pretty well. Hopefully I got everybody taken care of, and then we can get straight into material during Thursday's class. All right. So again, if you have any questions and we close out before you get them answered, you can email them to me. Let me know if you have any issues with MyMathLab. I think everything should be set up correctly. I know I've got about 10 of you in there already. Hopefully we see all 30 of you by 5 p.m. tomorrow. So we'll see you 8 a.m. Thursday, bright and early. Have those pencils ready to go. Take care, everybody.
All right, I had a question.
Go ahead.
Okay, so I need a graphing calculator. I need to buy one.
It is an excellent idea to have a graphing calculator for test 3, 4, and the final, as I said earlier in the class, because the graphing calculator can help us do some things. But you can also download one digitally if you just Google, where is my folder? I moved my folders around so I can't see it from when I took that video. There it is, Virtual TI-83. If you Google that, you can find one that you can download, and then boom, free calculator.
Okay, you said virtual TIE3.
Virtual TI-83, yeah, and my folder's abbreviated VTI-83, so try that search if the first one doesn't come up with anything. So it's just a good free option, so hopefully that helps.
All right, thank you.
No problem. All right, y'all take care.